What's up, my loves and fellow creatives? I'm back and I missed y'all. We're ready for this next class. I can't wait to show you all some things that you're going to be doing with randomizing patterns and making your own patterns. This is going to be super cool. For today, we are going to just demonstrate this live on YouTube. And then, of course, in class, we'll slow it down and make sure that everyone is on pace. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right. Hey, I see y'all. What's up, Helena? Levita Apparel. Hey, love. Sharon Wright. I see you, Coach Sharon. Coach Helena. Nisha. Hey, Rona. Got a surprise for you, Rona. Gabriella, or Gabriella. What's up, love? Chrissy, Coach Chrissy in the building. Hey, Rolling Sunset. The real Mrs. Corp. Lucius, Laverne. Hey, Deshanta, what's up, love? And Coach Ventresa's here. And we can't forget Miss Erica. E's in the building. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and get into this, okay? Yes, and I have my niece staring straight into my face and letting me know that she's being introduced in this video as well. So y'all say hello to Emma. She actually gave the majority of the ideas for our transitions that we're going to do today. So let's go ahead and flip this template. Yes, I'm glad you're looking forward to it, Helena. I think this is going to be a cool one. So you all are frequently asking me about how to do some of these different template flips. So what we're going to do, we're going to go into a couple of different variations. And of course, you'll get to choose what you want to do. Let me show you some examples first of what you all asked me about doing. Let me see if I can find it here. So just to show you some things you've asked me about doing, something like this photo, and I can't decide between this one and this one. So we're going to see how each one cleans up and which one is better. Okay. Now keep in mind what we're going to do. We're going to work on just extracting just the face so that it becomes one of those quirky little face shirts, right? Those are really popular, and I think this one is going to be hilarious. So let's go ahead and download the dog. And then we're also going to download Rona's little one. And this is Remove BG. It's basically software enabled on the website, so you don't have to download anything. And it does most of the cutting out of the background inherently without much issue at all. And sometimes, of course, like in this case, we just want the face. We're going to have to do some mild editing. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and open up, let's do this image first, because I think it would be cool to change this out to pink. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I'm Control plus in a little bit. And the image is a little bit blurred, but that's, you know, we can thank Facebook for that. For this purpose, we're just going to make it do what it does here. So we're going to use the pen tool here. And yes, we're going to use the pen tool today. We're not going to be afraid of it. We're just going to use it, and we will get better at it when we use it more. Okay, so I want to continue cutting out the bottom of the face here. So let's start on the outside here. Then I'm going to click and drag into the face here. And I'm going to just continue clicking and dragging to create these curves. And we will be able to clean this up a little bit if we need to, but I want you to focus on just clicking, dragging, following that space there. And then I'm going to come outside, way outside of the area here, because this background has already been cut out. All right, so at this point, we're going to go ahead and make this a selection and make it a layer mask. Now, if this wasn't exactly cleaned up how you may want it, let's go back a step before we make it a selection. And we can actually just make it a shape path here by clicking right here making the shape itself. Oh, I gotta go back a step before I close it up. And let's go ahead and do, hold on, there it is, mask. Let me delete this. Right here, it's up top now. They changed these versions of Photoshop up, so I'm just working with my upgraded one now. So we can move around these little nodes here. So I'm going to choose my direct selection tool. That's the white arrow. Usually we're using the black arrow. Direct selection will allow me to take a specific node, move it around, and do y'all see how my image mask is changing? So let's say I got a little too much of the shadow right here. I'm going to pick it up and shift this. And this is how you're going to do your face cutout. It will take a little practice. And we're not looking for perfection, but we're looking for personal improvement, okay? I just want you to be better than you were yesterday. Now this image does have some pixels. You can see the pixelated edges here. However, I think this is still going to make for a cool design. So we have that face cut out there. We can actually take this specific layer, and I'm going to call this photo 1. We're going to right click, and I'm just going to quick export that as a PNG. It's going to be called photo 1. Let's save it. So that was step 1. Step 1 is going to be cutting out the face of whatever your subject image is. And I'm not going to save those changes because I think we got the face cut out pretty well. Now what you're going to do is open up a file that I give you called 1000 by 1000 by 150 pattern. And what it is basically telling you if you were setting this up from scratch, you would do an artboard that was 1000 by 1000 pixels with 150 DPI. Okay, the reason why I'm doing it this way is just to save a little bit of time in class. Now we're going to drag and drop our PNG image that we just created, the photo 1 face. I'm going to drop it right here. And as a matter of fact, let me go back into this image. I'm going to go ahead and just crop out any of this excess. So we'll do that before we save the file next. And if you notice, Photoshop will kind of snap to the extents of your image. So it kind of helps you optimize all that extra space that you don't need. There it is there. Let's hit enter. And I'm going to hit yes to save this. That way when we drag and drop the face in, it should be exactly the extents of just the face. So I can make it as large as I want that cute little face to be. All right, so I'm making sure that it's centered in the middle there. Hit enter to lock in that transformation. Now, in order to make this the pattern, I'm going to go to Edit, Define Pattern, and I'm going to go ahead and delete the first part of this. Well, I'll keep it in there just so that you know what your standards were for the size. Let's call this Face Pattern. All right, so it'll be okay there. And this is the same way, if you can see here, we did the same steps to get the roses that are already in the template. So the roses will be there for you. We're just going to add a little extra. We're going to add some layers. All right, so I am done with this one for right now. I'm going to go ahead and close it and say yes to save the changes. All right, now at this point, we're going to go ahead and just change our main image here. So instead of Pop's face, we're going to turn that layer off. We'll turn off the roses right now too. I want to show you something. We'll go ahead and drag and drop into this face folder. We'll drag and drop our face. There it is. So we wanted to keep with the same theme. There we go. There's that beautiful face there. Okay, now what I'm going to do first is I'm going to turn off the face and the text. Well, let's just turn off the whole foreground. And we're going to focus on the background right now. So there are a few different tricks that I want to show you. This one is if you're creating kind of a step and repeat pattern. That's the brick. Then we're going to do some random. So this one is random and my settings are 1, 1, and 1. I'll show you what that means in just a second. This one is random if you wanted to do the complete fill with different size images. You could do the same thing with the same size images. And this is usually what y'all are showing me on these shirts. That is a really cool thing to be able to know how to do this. And then the roses are a random pattern, or I can do the roses as a full pattern. I'm going to go ahead and disable this layer mask. That was me fading it off. That's the roses as a full pattern. And it all started with one rose. It all started with one face. And in this file, I'm giving you all a camo pattern and a leopard print pattern just to kind of have that in the background ready to play with. All right, so let's go ahead and start building our template. So I'm going to do the leopard background. I'll throw my roses back on. And for this one, I'm going to wait to put the face in there because I don't want it to be confusing what the randomization is. All right, so let's go ahead and make a brand new layer. New layer. And for this one, I'm going to do the brick first because the brick is that step and repeat. It's not quite random, but it's not going to be a pattern that is normally repeatable or what they call a seamless pattern. Okay, it's going to cut off wherever our document cuts off. So now that we've created a new layer, we're going to go to Edit, Fill, and if you look here for the custom pattern, if we scroll all the way down, we'll see our beautiful subject. We're going to go ahead and select that. And for the script, let's go ahead and choose brick fill. Okay, so we're going to work on two different fills today, a brick fill and a random fill. We'll play with some of those other fills sometime in the future. I have one that I know you all will like, but we just won't be able to do it all in one night. So we're going to do brick fill and random fill. So brick fill, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I want you to pay attention to my settings here. So for the brick fill, I have 1, 50, 0, 0, 0. Follow that exactly because at some point in time, yes, you're going to change these settings, but for now, we're going to make sure that we keep consistent so everyone has a consistent result. Boom, there we go. Look at that already. If I were to turn off the roses here, you would see that I just have a nice kind of step and repeat pattern here. Very gorgeous. Yes, she is adorable. And Emma says, hey, right back.
Hello.
All right. So the next thing is, let's go ahead and choose an element. So what I want you all to do, since we're going to do a Poppet theme, right? So I'm going to look for a Poppet image.
And this was also my idea.
Yes, this was also Emma's idea. So let's find us a cute little Poppet, maybe a rainbow Poppet. Why not? And all I'm looking for is the image here. So I'm going to right click, open the image in a new tab, find it, make sure it's decent enough resolution, right click, and then I will save the image. Okay, so this will be our little Poppet. Now it's saved as a web. Where is it? Right click, open with, choose the paint program. Then we'll do file, save as, and then we'll do it in a 157 folder. And that's where I want you all to save all of your files. Save it in your 157 folder, please. It makes it so much easier. And then put your 157 folder on your desktop. When we go looking for files in class, it wastes a lot of time. So when I tell us to save it in a certain location or save it as a certain name, please do that. It makes it so much easier for you and for others to follow in the video. Okay, so we have it there. It's a JPEG. Now this one is easy enough to cut out. However, we're going to go ahead and drag and drop it into remove BG. See what we get out of it. Okay, it cut it out just great. So let's go ahead and download that, the PNG version of it. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to open back up that 1000 by 1000 pattern file. And this time we're going to drag and drop the Poppet in there. There it is. So let's move that over so we can see. Drag and drop. And remove BG also keeps all that excess on the outside, which we don't need. However, we can see what's excess here. Now we have to turn off the previous layer, and we're going to go ahead and save this now as, we're going to go to Edit, and then do Define Pattern. And the name of this one, we'll just put Poppet. Just to save it. Oh, you know what? There was some little extra mess in there. Let me clean that up. And that's actually a good understanding of why remove BG doesn't always perfectly clean things up. You see that little bit of blue right there? Let's zoom in a little bit. I'm going to do my quick select here. Select just that blue there. Add my plus sign. Grab my magic wand. I want to get all the transparent. So I just hit the plus sign or shift. This is your additional selection. And oh, you know what? I need to have contiguous selected on this one. That way it's only going to select what's touching right here. There we go. That cleaned that up just a little bit. I'll go to select and mask just to make sure that I'm going to have a clean area here. I might end up feathering it just a little bit, smoothing it just a little bit so that I have a good selection area.
What does feathering do?
Feathering is going to soften up those edges a little bit. Okay, so now I'm going to select the inverse because I had the background selected. Now I want to select the inverse of that. Hit OK. And I'm going to make a layer mask right here. So now all that is cleaned up. Now if I made any changes, I also have to change my pattern because the pattern is going to have the image that had the blue right there. So let's go to Edit, Define Pattern, and we'll save this one again with Poppet. All right. Oh, Bella, that's such a perfect name. Yes, tell Bella she is our inspiration for this one. All right, so let's go ahead and close that out. We'll say yes to the changes here. So along with Bella now we're going to do a randomize. So this was the brick pattern. We're going to do a random pattern. And the random pattern that I like that's open, of course we have the open version and then we have the 100% version. Let's go ahead and create a new layer. And I want to create that new layer underneath our existing layer. So I'm going to select that brick. And let's go ahead and name this one too. I'm going to take the same name for this one. Y'all are going to learn naming stuff will save you one day. I'm going to copy that and just paste it right here. So I know what my settings were for that. Let's create a new layer. And this one I want to do the same as this random right here. I'm going to do the random 0.05 and 2. And you're going to see what that does in just a moment. Okay, now I just named it. I haven't done anything to it yet. I just copied that name and pasted it right here. So now we're going to go to Edit. And with this random layer selected that has nothing on it, we're going to go to Fill. And instead of the brick fill, now I'm going to go to Random Fill. And I'll go to OK so I can get to my settings. And in this case, what did we say we're going to do? 1 will be the density. 0.5, which is half, will be the minimum scale factor. So that means the original size of my image will go, the minimum size it will go is half that size. And the maximum, which is the next number, is 2. And for the color randomness, it's going to be 0. And the brightness is going to be 0. So I didn't put those in there because you're going to see I don't really like the randomness or the brightness. I always turn them to 0. All right, so let's go ahead and hit OK and see what it comes up with. Okay, so these are the faces that are random here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is do the same thing, but choose the randomness to be the rainbow poppet now. Okay, so do you see the difference already? That is a more uniform look here. This one has a little more craziness to it. And of course, we could do that same setting and fill up the entire background. Okay, so let's go ahead and copy the name of the layer here. We're going to add a new layer, and this time we're going to do it for just the rainbow. All right, so I have the same settings here. and it will save your settings to the next one. Let's go to Edit, Fill, and this time instead of Bella's pretty face, we're going to go with the rainbow. All right. All right, so now we have the same options here. It looks like it's all jumbled up, but it is not going to be jumbled up. Okay, let's go to OK, and that's why you need to see what it does, because the preview will fool you. Okay, so it has some open spaces here, and it has a little randomness, so we can do randomness upon randomness. We can do randomness with the brick theme. And of course, we can even turn off some layers and just do the photo face there. So we'll show that in just a moment too. Now, there might be an instance where you want to fill up the entire background. And in that case, we would go to this setting where it says random 10.5 and 2. So I'm going to copy that. We're going to make a new layer. So we're going to turn this one off. Let's make a new layer. It's blank. We're going to name it what the previous one was, so random 10.5 and 2. And this time when we go to the fill, we're going to go to the settings and make sure instead of 1, we choose 10. If we choose 10 here, then it's going to fill up all of the white space it can possibly fill up. So the density is 10, that's its maximum. Let's go to OK here. Now keep in mind, if we make the background be maximum fill, see how that looks? Then you have the opportunity to fill up the entire background, but you don't have the opportunity to see the background color or anything through that. So what I like to do is take this layer effect, which is a drop shadow, and copy it. All right, and hopefully that helps out a little bit. Okay, so now let's go into creating our little color palette here. So this is simple. We're just going to do 2 colors, colors 1 and color 2. So the smart color 1 I already set up for you all. Before we do any type of change out, we're going to pick our colors. So we use the color picker tool here. I'm going to pick this pink here. I'll double click on that color, go to add to swatches, and we're going to call that color number 1, or just put a 1. All right, now immediately we can go ahead and select our second color, which I think, let's select this green, or let's select this blue. I think the blue would be a nice little cotton candy contrast. Let's go to add to swatches. Now we'll call that 2. Hit OK. And now we can hit cancel here. Now to change out these smart colors, I'm going to double click on smart color 1. I'll duplicate that layer. And then that way when I go over to swatches, I can just click the pink, and that's going to be my main color. Say yes to update those changes. And then for the second color, double click. Let's duplicate that layer. And that way I can change that out to the blue color. Now I have a little bit of pink and blue going on here. And what I need to do is go to my text here, and I'm going to add a levels adjustment here. And what that level adjustment will allow for is my midtones to be manipulated a little bit so that it better accurately reflects that true color there. And once I have that one, I'm going to alt click and drag, pull that down here, so that'll be ready for you all. A little more accurate as far as the color representation. And already we got us a dope design, right? Yes, this absolutely will be saved to watch later. Okay. Now what we're going to do for the next one, we'll go ahead and do the Shiba Inu. Same idea here. We're going to go ahead and turn off the foreground first. Turn off our previous foreground here and the random pattern here. And let's go ahead and do the same exact steps for the dog. Now I already saved it as a PNG, so I'm going to open that up. That's the PNG. We're going to use the pen tool here. I'm going to start from the outside, come on in, and I'm going to hold down my mouse while I create these curves. And it's going to be kind of hard sometimes with a pet's face to kind of tell where you want it to stop.
And where you
But
wanted to start.
but we'll go ahead and continue this connection here. And what we're going to do in this case, instead of doing, we'll still go ahead and do the mask here vector, but we need to be a little bit fuzzier. So let's go ahead and create the mask. It's going to cut that off, but it's going to look really hard. Well, we can actually edit this mask. So if we go to the feather over here, we can actually feather. It still keeps that vector shape here, but it's just feathering against that vector. So if we still need to go back and change it, we have the nodes available to do that. You see that? But it feathers it as I'm changing it here. So if you choose a bitmap frame here, then you can't change these nodes. You would have to go back and choose like a magic wand or lasso tool or something to make changes. But this is a very, very easy way. I know the pen tool doesn't seem easy, but it's a very easy way to come back and edit that. Now this feathering might be a little too much. I think the most that I want to choose is 2 pixels, maybe even just 1, because what happens is if it's not feathered that much by the top pixels, you will definitely be able to see that. Okay, so now I'm going to take this whole thing, I'm going to right click, well, let me call this, I'm going to call this a dog face. Okay, so now I'm going to take just this layer here and I'm going to quick export it as PNG, and it should be called dog face. So I have the dog and then I have the dog face. We'll export that. And this is what the dog face looks like just by itself. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close out of this. No, I don't need to save that. We're going to open up so we can make it in this space. And I don't want anything hanging off though. I want to be able to cleanly define it. Now, here's the thing. If you want the image, like on the pops, I'll show you. The image has a slight white outline and a drop shadow and makes it pop out more. But the roses are just straight up roses, right? There's no additional outline there. If we want the dog face to pop, then we'll add that that stroke. So we will go to FX, stroke. And it's going to look a little bit janky, a little bit weird. So as a matter of fact, let's go ahead and clean this up. And this is a pixelated image too, so you can imagine it's going to have some issues there. So I'll hit Control, click that photo. Then I'm going to go to one of my marquee tools, go to Selected Mask, and I want to smooth this out a little bit. Smoothing is going to give you a lot less pixels to the edge, a lot less nodes to the edge, but it can also cut some things off, so you have to be careful with that. And I'm not adding any additional feathering here, I just wanted as smooth as possible. So that this way, when I choose to create a layer mask of this smooth, when I go to create a stroke now, it should look smoother. You see that? It looks a little bit smoother. And I'm choosing this to go to the outside, and that's why I can't have my image hanging off. I'm going to choose white so that it kind of looks like a sticker. And then I'm going to bring this size down just a little bit. Let's add a drop shadow. Bring that opacity up a little bit so we can see. And let's bring that size in a little bit. And what I'll do is I will save this. I'm going to save this whole thing as a pattern with the stroke on it and save it without the stroke so you can see the difference. So let's go to Edit. You know what I need to do? Go back to my Move tool. And then I'll go to Define Pattern. I had to be on my Move tool. So this one, we'll call this one Dog Face. And with the stroke. And then I'll take it off and then we'll see what that looks like without it. Alright, so now let's turn off the effects. And the easiest way to do that is just to expand it, turn the eyeball off for the effects. And we'll go to Edit, Define Pattern, and now we'll just call this one dog face. There we go. And I'm thinking for the secondary image here, Emma recommended to do a paw print, and I thought that was a great recommendation. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in the paw print while I have this open. And hopefully it's transparent. Let's see. Awesome, awesome. So we're going to bring our paw print in here. Make sure it's good and centered. And now we're going to export this as a pattern. So Edit, Define Pattern, and I'm going to put paw print. All right, so we'll hit OK. All right, so now that I have those defined as my patterns, I can go ahead and choose whether I want to do them as the brick pattern or the random pattern. I'm going to go ahead and do the random for both and just see how that turns out. So again, we're going to use the same settings here. I'll take random, copy that, do a fresh new layer and rename it so that I know what my settings are going to be here. So let's do the paw print first. We'll go ahead and go to Edit, Define Pattern. Oops, I lied. Not Define Pattern. Edit and Fill. We've been defining patterns already. I'm going to choose the paw print. It's going to go for Random Fill. And now remember we put 10 on there. So now we're, instead of 10, we're going to go with 1. And the settings that we're going with is 1, 0.5, and then 2. And it looks a little confusing here, but we're going to see what it actually produces. Let's go ahead and get to OK. All right, sorry for the disruption, you guys. I'm going to go ahead and do this scale a little bit smaller here because I think it will look better smaller. So let's change those settings. Let's make a new layer. Let's go to Edit and Fill. We're still going to choose the Random Fill option, but this time instead of the largest factor being 2, I'm going to make the largest factor 1. And then the minimal factor, let's make it instead of 0.5, let's make it 0.25, so a quarter of the original size. And let's see what that looks like. Okay, I like that quite a bit better. And keep in mind, we can change this color too. So we can do a color overlay, a drop shadow, etc. As a matter of fact, let me show you what that looks like. Let's do a little drop shadow and do a color overlay of, let's just do white. And see how that goes for us. All right, so that's one way we can do it. Let's go ahead and put in the dog faces here, okay? So we're gonna do 2 different things. One is we're gonna bring it in random. The second one is we'll actually fill the whole thing up with the Shiba Inu face. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll choose these settings here to reproduce. Let's add a new layer. And of course, we want this layer to be above the paw print, so let's do that. Paste the name of the layer here so we'll know how to edit this one. Let's go to Edit and Fill. And this time we're going to choose the Shiba Inu face without the outline. Or you know what, let's choose the one with the outline because the paw prints would stand out better if they had an outline. So I might go back and put an outline on my paw prints if I really wanted to. All right, so for this one, let's keep this density and see what happens. Because this is a new setting I haven't tried yet. So you see what it does there? It kind of randomizes the little print, turns it around, rotates it, does some little funky orientation, and that's cool. Now we can go ahead and do the same settings. We add a new layer, and this time when we fill it, the only thing I want to change, I want to crank the density all the way up to 10. So I want it to fill the entire thing. All right, so we'll pull this one underneath. I think we're going to get that drop shadow that we had from here. Let's copy that drop shadow. I'll place it on the one above it, paste that drop shadow. And then I'll make this drop shadow for the top layer just a little more opaque. You see what it's doing there? If I make it completely opaque, it's basically making the top dogs kind of stand off from the background feel. And kind of lighten that shadow up just to make it look a little more believable. And then we'll try one more setting where what we'll do is still randomize it. But this time, if I want all my faces to be the same size, I'll just choose a scale of 1 here. The minimum and the maximum will both be 1. I'll still choose 10. And then I'll hit OK. This will fill it in completely with the rotated faces. And let's say I did not want to rotate the faces. I could do the same exact settings, except this time when I go to fill, I'm going to take off the option to rotate. So see how rotate is off? There we go. There we have it. So again, I'm going to show you just what it looks like when you don't have that white outline around it. We'll do a fresh layer. Same idea. We'll go to Edit, Fill, and then this time instead of the one with the outline, I'm going to choose the one without the outline. Go to OK. And see the difference that makes there? So some of the images that you see with the faces on the shirt have a white outline just to make it pop out. And some of them don't have that white outline because it makes it blend in. So when I blend it in, I'm going to go ahead and choose to rotate, and you'll see it'll look a little crazier. But it doesn't have the transition difference between the images. And that's why I like the idea of doing a sparser random on top, where you have the drop shadow, because it does make it look a little bit cleaner to me, a little bit easier to identify what the object is, versus just having that flat image that is just very difficult to see. But that is the style too. So just depending on what end effect you want, we're going to be able to do all of these variations. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do an outline here on this paw because it's driving me crazy that it's blended. So I'm going to do a white stroke and then choose to offset it on the outside. And y'all know me, I might go ahead and do a little drop shadow there. Bring that in. Go ahead and hit OK. And then of course I have to set this as a pattern now. Now if I want this to be something I can recolor later, then what I'm going to do is choose to do a color overlay and just choose like a medium gray here, and you'll see why later. All right, so that's going to be my pattern. So I'll go to Edit, Define Pattern, and then I'll call this Paw Print Outline and Shadow. Don't do like me and name your stuff like extra long. I do that for you all because I'm always demonstrating something, so I want it to be a short way of you understanding what I demonstrated in that step. Okay, so I can go ahead and close out of this one now. Yes, we'll save the changes, so you'll have those changes. And this time, let's go with the random pattern. I'm going to take the same steps we did here for the paw print, and I'm going to replace those steps. So we're still going to do the random 0.05, 2, I think we actually did 0.25 and 1 on that one. So let's see. New layer, edit, let's go ahead and fill. And this time, the contents pattern, that's how you get to that. Because more than likely it's going to have foreground, background. So we have to choose pattern there. And let's choose the new paw print. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And this time the density will be 1. The minimum scale is 0.25. And the maximum scale is just 1. And let's see what that looks like. All right, and you see this time whenever a paw print kind of overlaps, you get a little bit of discernment. It doesn't look like it's one continuous piece. And if I don't like that it's gray, I'm going to choose one of my smart colors here. Let's say it's going to be my pink. I'm going to alt click and drag that smart color to right over my paw print. And then I'm going to delete this layer mask. All right, so right now it's on normal. I'm going to right click, create a clipping mask. It should just go ahead and cover up those paw prints. That looks pretty familiar, right? But if I change my blend mode to something like color, overlay, one of the blend modes that basically allow me to see my color, lighting actually looks really good. But you understand why I chose it to be more of a gray tone, a medium gray tone, than a black, because it's easier to recolor that particular color. Right click and paste. And of course, I think I had a color overlay here. Let's go ahead and turn that off. All right, so back to business. I'm showing the smart color because I want to show you all that even if I don't include the smart color on a specific object, you can always use that smart color. All right, so let's say for this one, we're going to go with the camo instead of the leopard print. And let's just say we need a little bit more of the random Shibanu. We can do a new layer with the same exact settings here, and the images will fall in a different place. So that is what I like to do when I want to make it look built up and not necessarily that I just have one little layer of random sprinkled images. So let's do this. Let's copy the name of this one and let's paste it here. And let's see if it puts the dog faces in the same exact place or not. So let's go up to edit, fill, and this time we'll make sure we choose the one with the outline again. Go to OK. And the settings that we want are 1. This one was 0.5. Was it 0.5 and 2? Or did we change it? We'll change it to 0.5 and 2 and see. All right, so let's go ahead and hit OK. No, it had to be 0.25 and 1, I think is what we did. So let's change that. I think that was 0.25 or 0.25. And then the last setting here is 1. So let's copy that. The reason why I say to copy it is because if you know what your settings were, then you know how you can manipulate and also replicate that. So let's do another one of these. Let's go create a new layer. You have to be on a new layer, otherwise it will put it on top of the existing layer, and as you can see, sometimes we don't want that. If this would have been on top of this, then I would have ruined that piece that I wanted to keep. So I don't want that one. I want one that's probably going to be this setup. So let's go to Edit, Fill, Random Fill. We're at 1.25. And instead of 2, we're just going to do 1. Let's hit OK, see what we come up with. That's more like it. So what we can do is take that. Uh-oh, I did exactly what I told y'all not to do, which is put it on the same layer. So let me go undo that setup. I was supposed to be on this layer. I think in the midst of me showing you all what not to do, I just demonstrated why you shouldn't do that. So let's go ahead and put it on this separate layer. Edit, Fill, and it will say the last setting, so it should be exactly what I want it to be. Let's hit OK. And this time, you know what? Let's do density instead of 1 pixel. Let's do 3. I'm going to crank up the density a little bit. That means it's going to take up more of this open white space. There we go. So then I will place that one below because I want the ones that have least density kind of to have a little more shadow. I'll take that drop shadow. I'm going to copy it. Copy that layer style. Paste that layer style. Okay, and do you see what it kind of adds a little dimension there? And then I could take my paw prints and put them between the 2 layers if I wanted to, and just play with my layers of randomness. You see that? So let's go through what we learned. Of course, you'll be able to bring the foreground back. Now, this is something I wanted to show you all. This is one more feature that we're going to learn today, which is a pretty advanced feature. So let's say, for instance, I'm going to turn off Bella's face for a second. We'll go ahead and bring this one in for a moment. And this will be our main focal image here. You see how we can play off of the pattern in the background and still put a foreground image, and it still looks like it kind of goes. It's not too crazy here. All right, so let's say I wanted my paw prints to create a frame around whatever my contoured object is. I'm going to hold down Control and click on the thumbnail of the image. Then I'm going to come over to my paths. If you don't see your paths, you go to Window and go to Paths. And it just popped up down here in my other window, but I'm going to bring it right up there to where my swatches are. And it creates a working path, right? So now that we have a path selected, I can choose, oh, I lied. Let me delete that path. Okay, we have to make a path. So right now we just have the marching ants. Let's go ahead and make a work path. And it has a tolerance of 2 pixels. That's pretty good. Do you see what it did? It created a vector outline here. And I'm going to tell the pattern to follow a path. Now that's something new we haven't done yet. So let's go up here to Edit. And I need to be on my Move tool. Here we go. On my dog face here. Work path. And I'm going to go ahead and save this path. And the reason why I want to save it is just in case something happens here. So I'm going to call this one dog face. All right, so we have path selected. Let's go to Edit and deselect the dog face right now. Edit and, oh, duh, I actually need to select it, but I have to create a new layer. So this new layer that I create, I don't want it on top of my dog face, but I'm going to show you what happens. So I'm going to keep it on top of the dog face, then I'll drag it underneath afterwards. So I just want you to see more clearly what it's actually doing. So we'll put it on top here. Let's go to Edit and Fill. And this time, instead of a random fill, we're going to place a long path. So we're actually doing 3 different things with this fill feature today. So we'll go to OK. And here we have a couple of settings here. So I'm going to go with 1 for the pattern scale. The spacing, I have it pulled down a little bit because I kind of want it to overlap. Let's see. Let's go with 0 right now. And see, 0 kind of gives me a little too much space. Oh, you know what? Duh. I want to change it to the paw print. I don't want it to be dogs, you know, kind of around there, although that could be cool too. Let's go back to edit and fill, and we have to make sure we change the custom pattern to the paw print. All right, so this one I'll choose the spacing of 0. And then this way it kind of lets me know if I want to have it bunched up. For instance, the roses are bunched up, but maybe the paw prints I want to be more separate. So I'm going to choose the paw prints to be a little more separate. And these are a little big, so let me go back a step. And instead of my sizing, let's see what I have here for my scale. So my scale's at 100%. If I actually pull it down, the pattern scale, let's pull it down 0.5. And this one I'm going to pull down 0.25 because I really want to see little tiny paws go around it. You see those little tiny paws around it? Now there's a few other options we can choose. I'm going to pull this behind it. So that was my idea, was to basically pull whatever this little print is behind the image of the face. So we're going to try another setting here, where it's almost going to be exactly the same, except in this case, because the paw prints, I think they look better in one single direction, I have an option where it says alternate patterns. If I turn that off, then they all go the same way. And when I hit OK here, it kind of fills it out that way. If I pull this out just a little bit, you'll see it follows that path. But it kind of gives me an interesting frame for whatever it is I'm working on. Right, and in this case, I'm going to do the exact same settings I did with the smart color here. I'm going to alt click and drag it up to this frame here. Right click and create a clipping mask. And that way I have those same exact properties here. All right, so let me show you what I'll do that one more time with Bella. So with Bella, we're going to control click on her face on the thumbnail. Then we're going to create we're going to make a work path and say 2. Then we'll create a fresh new layer for the pattern, and this time we'll use the poppets. So now we're going to work backwards to the Bella design. We'll go edit, fill, and this time we're going to fill with the rainbow. Okay. And this one I do want to alternate the patterns. I want the rainbow to go upside down, pretty much 180 degrees each time it alternates. Then see how I made the little rainbows around that same path? See how it follows along that path? Then I can drag that path underneath her head, make it a little bit bigger so we can clearly see those rainbows. And then the layer mask that I had to make it pastel, I'll drag and drop that right on top of this layer. Create a clipping mask. And let's turn it back to Bella now. Okay, so let's go ahead and save our variations. So I'm going to turn those off, turn our Doge variation on. And in this case, I'm going to do the Doge without the pattern on it. So we'll still do the You Got to Coordinate theme here. And for Doge, let's duplicate that layer. And let's do maybe a navy blue. But I want it to be away from those purples. So I'll pull my navy blues more down here. And because my blend mode is on lighten, you see here, I have to change my blend mode for the smart color here on the palms. So it's on lighten. Now I'm going to change that blend mode to color or multiply, something that allows me to get that darker color there. I think overlay does it for me. So the same thing with the word coordinate. Instead of color now, I will do either overlay or multiply. I think overlay gives me a little more of my variation there. And I'll leave this light blue as you got to. All right, and one more time, I think I'll change out, let's say I wanted to grab this color here from the background, that green right there. Just add it to the swatches. I'm going to add that as 3 just so I don't mess up my 1 and 2. Change out this blue here now. Grab my swatch of the olive green there. And there we have that color variation. And for the you got to, for this one, I think I'm just going to use a black and not even use my smart color. So if I turn it off, it's got that grayscale there. I'm going to add my own layer here. I lied. I'm going to add a solid color here. Oh, I actually like that solid color green. Looks good. All right, so now let's say this is a variation that I will use in my mock-up. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. All right, so in this case, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my swatches here. I'm going to go ahead and make a folder for the swatches. Control G and call that swatches. Just turn that off because I want everything here to just be clean. So what I can see is my foreground and my background. So let's turn foreground on and off there. That's my foreground. My background is here. And then the foreground plus the background, I'm going to group that, Control G, and that's going to be called my art folder. So right now I'm just going to quick export the art as a PNG. And I'll call that art 1 because I'm going to have 3 different variations. 1. And let's go ahead and now make this the Bella version. So we'll turn off our Doge. Bella has the rainbows around her. And then the smart colors, we'll go ahead and change those out. We have the blue in the main smart color. We'll turn that off. Turn the blue back on for the text. The second smart color will be the pink. Let's update that, see what it looks like. And of course, we're going to turn off the pop print random layer in the background. Turn off the Doges, both versions. And I think I'm going to go ahead and group these two. So let's go ahead and group all of those and let's call that the dog. So you'll have those layers. And then I'll delete this one, this one. We'll group that. We'll call that the Bella layer. And then we'll group this one, call that Pops. And group this one, call it Roses. All right, so right now we're going to go ahead and turn on our Bella elements. And let's do the leopard print. I like the leopard for Bella, so we'll let the leopard shine through. And for Bella, I'm not sure if I want to do the brick or the random. I think we did random for Doge, so let's do the brick variation for Bella. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and coordinate this artwork out. So let's do art, right click, quick export as PNG. We'll call that one art-2. And then finally, we will bring back Pops. So the Smart Color 1 and 2. So Smart Color 2. We'll bring back, this is the green and red kind of Christmas edition. And where is Smart Color 1? Let's go ahead and change that out to our red. And of course, now we take off the image photo in the rainbow background. We'll turn on Pops and the roses background, just to kind of give you an idea of what you can do here. And let's bring our roses back. So I had this random rose turned on here. We'll go ahead and turn off the Bella folder. And like I said, you can layer these roses. You see that? I could even turn this one on, and although it's a full fill, I have this little gradient option that I created up here that fills it up at the top, but it fades it off towards here so you can kind of see some of the leopard print come through. And let me turn these guides off. View, show, guides, so we can focus more on the image. Now I want you to see something here. Although I'm making all of this excess here, I make sure that my main image is not really going outside of this dotted line here. If I design this way, then that means this design works for a small all the way up to a 3X. All right, so now we have the foreground in place. It has like a little white pop out here. You can turn that off through the effects if you want to. Just expand those down here, and you can turn off the effects. That way it blends in more, but I actually want it to stand off here. And I'm going to go ahead and export this artwork as well. So we'll just right click, quick export as PNG, and this is going to be our art-3. So we have 3 different art variations off of this one tutorial. Now, of course, when you do yours for class, the only thing that you're going to need is an image that's already cut out from Remove BG, but all we're going to do is clean it up further to create just that face. So it works better if you have a straight face image. Sometimes a profile image works, but really a straight face is going to be best. And then we'll go ahead and cut it out in class with the pen tool, so I can help you all use that pen tool. Also, I want you to know that I have a mask layer on here for you. So if you needed to do this as a 13x19 print and not an all over, you just activate this mask, and then when you go to save this as a PNG, you make sure you scale it down to a 13x19 size, and that way it is all ready for you to go and print. Okay, so we have that 13x19. So now if I right click on this art and go to export as PNG, this one will be art-3, but this one will be the 13x19. So I'm going to put 13x19 just to designate that this is not the all over version. Okay, so I haven't been able to check on y'all's messages. Let me see if y'all are still with me, if you haven't left me just yet. All right, now what I'm going to do at this point is prepare this for mock-up. So we're just going to do a t-shirt mock-up here. Let me see, the last class where we did a regular mock-up, 154 was it? Nope, that was something extra. This one will be, I think, 152 mock-up. Let's do that one. Because I believe we just use regular t-shirts to mock up. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and mock this up real quick. You will receive the mock-up file. You won't have the mock-up file for class. You will get the mock-up file after class because I don't want anyone to be confused on what they're working on in class today. So I'm going to give you the template, and we're still going to have to use this template in order to just to have something to start with, but you won't be using all these elements. You will be creating these elements from things that you have. And I will also give you my roses. I think y'all might want to play with that. It will have the camo pattern already in there. It will have the leopard pattern already in there. The layer mask will be there. And I'm just going to go ahead and group these layers, make it easy. So I'll call this one Pop's face. And this one will be Bella. And then this one will be the dog's face. And of course, in class, you'll be able to change out this text too. Just make sure that you go ahead and install the fonts. All right, so I'm closing this out, cleaning this up, making sure it looks nice for you. When you open it up, the layers are all named and you know what to do when you do open it up. I'm going to take Smart Color 1 and 2 and I'm going to bring it all the way to the top. I'm holding down Alt, dragging that to the top. So, oh, you know what? It's in the swatches. Duh. So let me just drag this somewhere where it doesn't matter. Your smart colors are right there in your swatches. Okay. So I'll leave that open for you. And I just like to close down my folders as I don't like to see everything until I'm ready for it. I'll leave the background open because that's where we're going to do a lot of our work here. And then let's just clean this up a little bit. We don't have any excess layers that we don't need. I'm going to clean up some of these doges here. All right, so again, we're going to do a brick, we're going to do a random, and then we're going to do a random with a full fill here. So that's what we're going to work on in class tonight. Let's save that. Let's go ahead and change these mock-ups real quick. I'm just going to drag and drop the all over artwork from 157 into here. Once we drag it in, we're going to need to delete the background layer and say yes, we want to save. I have to hit enter to lock in my transformation there. And now it starts saving. It's going a little bit slow because we're live streaming with all of this stuff going on right now. It looks like we have 2 documents saving here. Let's just now get into it. So yeah, it is slowing the computer down quite a bit doing this live, but I think it's worth it to show you all this before we do class. All right, finally, I updated that smart object. That looks pretty cool. I'm gonna go ahead and delete some of these unnecessary layers here. Let's go ahead and do this one. Let's double click here. And this one, let's drag in our beautiful Bella. Let's go ahead and delete the background image. Because it's a PNG, you can only have that one layer there. Let's go ahead and yes to save, and it should be updating right now. Let it finish updating. We'll come to our mock-up and see if we see the magic happen. And of course, on this final one here, we're going to double click. And this one, we're going to do our homage to Pops. And I didn't save the all over version of it, which is great that I still have it open, because I can take the art here. And I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. Quick export as a PNG. And we're going to do this one as 0 if I didn't already save it. And maybe I'll do this one as the 13 by 19 just to kind of show that difference there. Let's go ahead and turn off this or delete this layer. And we'll still do it as a jumbo looking print, but it gives the idea that you're going to have a layer mask here. Make this a little bit smaller so you can tell that's a layer mask. Make it a little bit smaller right here. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and change this mock-up real quick to say what we're going to be doing. This is 157 course. And this one we're going to be using creating a random pattern. So I'm going to go create your own random patterns. So although there's a smart color change, you'll receive the template. We're going to do create a random pattern. You're going to add your text, you'll get the free mock-up, and of course you'll add your own image. All right, so let's go ahead and change this gradient here to match with one of our shirts. I think we'll make it match with Bella. We'll do the light pink to the blue there. Perfect. And then we'll go ahead and change the bullet point color, the color overlay, to that blue there. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this, upload this. It's going to be starting, we'll go ahead and start class at 8 o'clock. This shouldn't be a lot to download because I want to make sure that that you all even are able to get to cut out your images. So we do need to start at 8 tonight. And I'll go ahead and have this upload in just a few moments. For those who are $60 VIP members, be looking out for your coupon code to take the course for free. And for those who are the $30 members, standard members, please use your 67% off coupon code for the class. If you want to join a la carte, it's $60 per class to do the live session. It's about a 2-hour session, and we go through everything that I just went through on YouTube, except we do it very slowly. We make sure that everyone makes it through each phase of the project. All right, so I gotta let y'all go. I appreciate you all. I love you dearly, and until next time, bye.